Real quickly before we jump into the video, if you guys are interested in G Fuel at all, if you go over to gfuel.com right now and apply code ESPRESSO at checkout, it gives you 30% off for the next few days rather than just the standard 10%. So if you're looking to take advantage of a deal, now's a better time than ever. Let's head back to the regularly scheduled content. I was running a few hours behind schedule, but we finally ended up getting the update for Black Ops for today. PlayStation 4's title update, roughly around 15 gigabytes, and as for the other platforms as of making this, I'm not entirely sure, probably a little more or less depending on the platform, but we ended up seeing that we have a bunch of things added in. A lot of things are time gated for tomorrow, so those things including the brand new Black Market, new customization items, the brand new maps, and alterations such as Hijacked and Blackout. What seemingly is the DLC maps that we're going to be getting for the Black Ops Pass, that is a whole different confusing topic in and of itself. So we'll talk about that later whenever those happen tomorrow, but I want to let you know about some of the visible changes that you may see when you jump into Black Ops 4 right now. As of recording this wasn't something the patch notes were available, but having waited literally all day for this, I wanted to get you guys something to check out so you guys could jump in and have a little bit more knowledge whenever you do so you can know what to look for. Like we said, some things won't take effect until 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow, but as for what you can check out now, there's still a decent amount. So that said, let's just jump right into it. Let's start out with a little fun fact here with this. It kind of comes back to what we saw with World War II and how each time you load up the game, you'll be met with the Operation loading screen. We see Operation Absolute Zero coming in as you first kick on the application, but then after that, it goes into your standard boot sequence of the intro cinematic and things like that, which I still wish you could end up skipping. You have that option on PC, but not necessarily on console. But regardless, let's start in with the multiplayer end here with this. When you take a look at it, firstly, one big change here comes down to some of the customization. The Reactive Camos now actually have a preview. Same goes with the Mastercraft. In order to end up checking these out, what you have to end up doing is going into your camo selection, and you might notice that if you have a signature weapon, in your standard camo selection, it doesn't have the Reactive and Mastercraft weapon camos listed where they were previously. Instead, you have to tab over to the left. You have instead multiplayer in the middle with zombies on the right tab, but then on the left tab, you have the Black Market, in which we're going to see a lot of camos coming here out of this and seemingly added in as of tomorrow, with camos that can be applied across the board, but that's not really the focus here of this. To get into seeing and selecting the Reactive and Mastercraft camos, you have to scroll down just simply 1 or 2 spaces depending on where you want to go, and with this, whenever you go and hover over that Reactive or Mastercraft, you can actually hit triangle or Y on whatever console you're on, and it will end up bringing up the previews for the different tiers of that camo progression. So for some, you end up having, of course, the kill streak related ones. You have some that are just simply challenge based or just simply set number of kills throughout the game, not necessarily chained together. So for that, you can end up taking a look at all the different variations that will happen and react with how you play the game. And that's honestly a really awesome thing I think that was added in here with this, giving a little preview. Next step here in my books, Treyarch, if you have any open wave for suggestion, I'd love to see some selectable camos out of these previews, but you can end up making that the default one you start out with, or if you don't want to change camos at all during the game, you can set it as that default and not have to change throughout the game. So say you want the purple OG Dark Matter and you end up having that, instead of having to get 30 kills every single game, if you end up doing it once, it's unlocked and you can use it as a base default camo for your Dark Matter. You can have the variations then. I think that'd be really cool, but again, we're getting ahead of ourselves here. That's available for you guys to check out in the Black Market tab of camos. Moving over, let's talk a little bit about camos themselves, or one in particular, because you might have caught how we worded this. Dark Matter actually ended up getting an update to which, whenever you ended up going into games previously, to end up getting the variations of the camo itself, you had to get all the way up to a 30 kill streak to keep that OG Dark Matter variation of it. Or if you ended up getting on any of the streaks beforehand, it wouldn't allow you to keep that if you ended up dying before you hit that 30 kill streak checkpoint, but now that's no longer the case. Instead, all you have to do is get 30 kills. They don't have to be chained together. They can be 30 kills throughout the game. You can go on a 10-0 tear and then maybe drop 10 kills so you're 10-10, and then go on another 20 kill streak and you'll be totally fine. Or if you go 1-1 the entire way up, so long as you get 30 kills, you end up getting that maxed tier, and then it stays also every single time you die. So every time you end up getting that 5th kill and it ranks up another tier of that Dark Matter, that stays. It doesn't reset. So that's something you can look forward to as well if you're looking forward to going in and checking out the different variations of Dark Matter. I think I'm okay with this change. I know some people that have grinded out the game and love getting those nuked outs and all different types of nuclears that come along with it. I know that might not be the best thing to hear for them, but I guess it really just comes down to personal preference. Also, huge shout out to my buddy Carnage AK. Check him out, link in the description below. He's the one that provided the gameplay in the background. If you guys follow me on Twitter, I'm on the road to Dark Matter, but I'm not quite there yet. So he was kind enough to step in and drop me some gameplay gameplay to showcase exactly what I was talking about here in this video for you guys. So make sure you go check him out, links in the description below. Also, one real quick mention before we jump into the other things is that Chaos Control is actually in the game. That was something that was supposed to be in the game as of this last title update last week, but it was something that a different playlist actually took its place. But now it's finally in the game. That'll give you unlimited lives, and the capture time was increased to 2 minutes, so you end up getting that extra bonus time, and also round time was increased to 3.5 minutes. So if you guys want to check that out, play around with it, feel free to. Outside of that, some minor changes come down to some iced reserves in the Contraband stream. This is something that we might end up seeing tomorrow, some sort of differentiation between the current reserve system that will end up rolling over into this next operation, and then the brand new stuff added in with Absolute Zero. So kind of like the winter supply drops compared to the regular supply drops from World War II last year, the same sort of thing, where you can end up getting both, but the loot pool is a little bit different, and you can distinguish which is which. Another minor change is that Nuketown is now actually finally in private matches. We saw Seaside Sunset and Firing Range Night added in before this, even though Nuketown was added in before those. But for those guys looking to do the Easter egg, have some fun with that, or whatever it may be, just exploring the map a little bit further, you can now do so as you please, as this is now in private matches. Let's talk a little bit about Blackout, because this is one that honestly got a lot of the changes showcased today. We're still gonna get stuff as of tomorrow again, as we will with multiplayer and zombies, but what you can see is a lot coming from the Blackout mode. First things first, when you drop in, you might notice that the map itself is a little bit changed around. It's a little more dim lighting, or rather, I guess, hazy lighting almost in a sense, but it is fall themed, where you have the fall and autumn colored leaves. Then off in the distance in the mountains, you do see they're actually snow covered. So maybe we see that progressively come down to the Blackout playable map, but that's something that we'll see at a later point perhaps. But that said, aesthetically, it's a lot changed around there as well. One thing that was mentioned by Treyarch was to take a look at specific areas, to which they gave, for example, to check out Hydro Dam Factory in Nuketown. Now, I'm assuming there are more places throughout the map that have been changed, but in those ones in particular, there actually are some decent changes here for these. That being at Hydro Dam, we'll start there. This now actually contains a bridge that connects the two sides of Hydro Dam together. So instead of having to swim across and climb up a ladder and make it something of a big long excursion going from one end to the other, you can now just simply walk across, or if you're trying to get out of the way, run across. Additionally, there also is a little more cover on the siding leading out into the river. That was something that was completely wide open before, but now there's some roofing and there's a little bit more that can offer some protection if you take some fire from above. Also, there's a little bit of an adjustment where in the back portions of the Hydro Dam factory, if you will, there's actually now a back room and also an elevator that will take you up. Now, if you go all the way up, it takes you to the street level up above the dam, and so it really can traverse a large scale here with this, and the actual pillars that this elevator is in are brand new to the actual site itself, so therefore you might not have noticed it before, but if you go out this way, you definitely will now. At Factory, this one, you actually probably have to try and look for it, because it's not in plain view like this. It's not anything that has been changed out in terms of what was built up, but you now have a couple of different areas now accessible that were previously not. Some of those being the big silos, to which there's multiple tiers of loot, and then it goes down to a bottom level that is accessible by ground floor as well. There's two of those, and there's one building that leads just outside of the main complex that is available to be looted as well. So that's something to check out. Whenever I landed there really wasn't all that much worthwhile, but of course it was just kind of your standard loot. So it is what it is, and if you need to land at Factory, it gives you another couple of options. Finally, the last one that was mentioned was Nuketown, and this one, not all that much was changed around. It just comes down to the underground bunker. There are a few areas where it pushes a little further back, so there's a little more area to play around with. There's a little bit that was changed around, so it's not as symmetrical in some of the areas like Diner and Lounge. And then some of the lighting was changed from red to blue now, so that's rather interesting as well. In terms of things that you can end up finding, one thing that honestly really surprised me was that both of the brand new weapons are actually available within Blackout right now. That being the SWAT RFT and the Damon 3XB. Now, they're both your standard run-of-the-mill weapons. I don't know if I would necessarily pick up the SMG. It wasn't all that great, and plus it's like an MP5K, but it's a burst. So do with that information as you please, but the SWAT RFT wasn't all that bad. I'd say it's probably comparable to the KN, but would it be my first choice? I don't know. I'd have to play around with a little more to give you my accurate representation and feelings on it. But both those are actually available right now if you guys want to check those out and play around with them. So head on into Blackout and check those out. A quick little mention here is that actually we have new crew members from 9, that being the sort of gladiator variation of the Chaos crew. So that's interesting. Their character missions are apparently in-game right now. I've yet to find them, but it says they're available at the current point. So jump in, try and get those for yourselves, and hopefully you get them. And the final thing that I really want to mention here out of Blackout is probably the biggest thing to me, that being armor plating was finally added in. And I'm not talking about the thing that you need to use to end up getting Ajax unlocked. I'm talking about armor plating that regenerates your armor health. So this is something you can end up finding these scattered around the map. They seem to be quite common. I don't know if it's something that it's meant to be or if I just got lucky and found a bunch off spawn every single time, but this is something that will then add 100 durability points to your armor no matter what level, and you can end up stacking 10 at a time, and truthfully, it is a lifesaver. Now, this is one thing that is also really curious, is that it seems like, again, maybe I got lucky, but the armor itself, it didn't actually break whenever I won a gunfight. It would just get it down to really weak, and so therefore you could pick up the enemy player's armor and then repair it no matter what level it was. So therefore in the gameplay in the background, you'll probably see I picked up 2 to 3 level 3 armors and then completely restored it back to full health, which is rather interesting. That might be a little bit of a huge advantage late game for anybody that finds a level 3, but it is definitely better than I think it was before, where you're almost guaranteed to not have any armor if you play even slightly aggressive in your early to mid game. So I think this is truthfully what Blackout definitely needed. Of course, it will have some adjustments and tweaks made over time, but I love this introduction so far. Also wanted to mention some changes with the audio for Blackout, and this is something that was, again, stated it would be adjusted. It definitely is noticeable. It feels a lot clearer whenever you listen to your audio in-game via a headset, or maybe you have a surround sound system. Playing just out of TV speakers, you might not necessarily notice it, but for those that are a little more immersed in it, you definitely can notice that there is a difference here with how it works. Seems a lot more accurate from the dozen or so games that I ended up playing since the update went live. But again, I don't have the exact specifics on hand right now because obviously, again, the patch notes hadn't come out as of recording this. By the time it goes up, my luck probably will be it'll drop in full probably 10 minutes after the video goes live, to which if there's anything substantial in difference outside of what we'll already cover tomorrow with some changes that go live in the coverage of the new content there, we'll keep you up to date with all that then as well. But that said, that's where we're gonna wrap it up. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Jumping on, is there anything in particular you were rather wowed by, or maybe not so much, maybe a little disappointed with some of the changes that happened here with this? Whatever it is, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But that said, hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to drop a like down below, and of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Black Ops 4 multiplayer Blackout Zombies. We got you covered the best of updates, news, information, tips, tricks, all that good stuff. So if you want to stay up to date with all that kind of stuff, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. And if you guys also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected outside of YouTube. Practically live on both those. So if you guys want to check those out, links are in the description below. But all that said and out of the way, hope you guys have a fantastic day. Thanks so much for watching. My name's been Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.